Hi, this is Roopa Prasad, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Applications, MITS College. Okay, today we are going to discuss about the topic called as security attack services and mechanism. This is the concept which we are going to discuss in this presentation. So, coming to the contents of this presentation, first of all, we talk about what is computer security. Then we go for what are the different types of attacks we have. Then we have a guidance on security services. Then we discuss about the security mechanisms. Okay. So first of all, we discuss what is computer security. What is meant by security? So security means what? Protection. Giving the protection is called as a security. So we are going to give the protection to the computer system, networks, and data. Okay, for all the things with the protection has to be provided. So protection from what? Protecting the data from what? From the unauthorized access. From the unauthorized access, the data, the system, the network has to be protected. That we call it as computer security. Okay, this computer security safeguards confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information. If we have the confidentiality, if we have integrity, and if we have availability, then we can say that the information is secure. We'll discuss this later. Okay. So computer security ensures confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information. So it involves, so for achieving this one, we have to implement the measures. We have to implement some measures. We have to implement some policies and procedures and technologies for us for achieving this confidentiality, integrity, and as well as the available. Overall, what we can say, in order to achieve the security, we must implement some measures, policies, procedures, and technologies so that it can so that no unauthorized access can be done. So, we discuss about confidentiality and integrity. First, we mainly focus on confidential. What the computer security ensures, it ensures the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. First, we discuss what all these concepts are. So, confidentiality. Simply, what we can say, confidentiality is also known as privacy. Clear? Confidentiality is also known as privacy. That means what? Whatever the the message has to be received the in simple way. What we can say means the message has to be received only to the intended receiver. Okay. So suppose A has sent a message to B. So B has only viewed the message. That we call it as confidentiality. In technical terms, what we can say, data confidentiality. Coming to confidentiality, we have to talk about the data confidentiality as well as the privacy. So data confidentiality means assures that private or confidential information is not made available or disclosed to unauthorized individuals. So this message, whatever the information is not viewed by unauthorized users. Only it has to be viewed by authorized users. So whatever the data has been sent to the receiver only has to view the data. Nobody else can be able to view the data. So only authorized users can only have the information. That information should be available only for the authorized users. That we call it as data confidentiality. When we come to the privacy, privacy means so which information is related to whom, that only can access the information. Nobody can able to maybe have that information. That we call it as privacy. So then coming to data integrity means the data should not be modified, the data should not be altered, and there should not be no alteration, no deletion by the unauthorized users. So only the authorized users can be able to make the changes. That we call it as data integrity. Coming to the system integrity means whoever is authorized for the system, only that person, only that user has to use the system. Nobody can able to alter or modify something in the system. That we call it as system integrity. And then coming to the next one, that we call it as availability. So we discuss more concepts called as authenticity and accountability also. First, we discuss availability. What is availability? Availability means the service has to be provided to the authorized users. Okay, they should not be denied. Okay, so every time, whenever the authorized user requests the data, that data should be available. That data should be made available to the authorized users. that we call it as a availability. Okay. And whenever what we call it as authenticity, authenticity means verifying the identity of the user, verifying the identity of the user, that we call it as authenticity. And accountability means keeping track or recording actions taken by the users. All the actions that are performed by the user has to be keep tracked and they has to be recorded, that we call it as a accountability. So for what all these we are doing means for enforcing the security and enforcing the policies. Okay. So what we discussed, there are main three concepts are there. The computer security ensures confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality means only the intended receiver can view the data. Integrity means that whatever the sender has sent, that has to be received by the receiver. And availability means the services and data should be available to the authorized users whenever they are requested. Okay, only to the authorized users, that we call it as the availability. And authenticity means verifying the identity of the user, and accountability means keeping track of everything that is done by the users in the computer system. All this is done in order to maintain the security and enforcing policies. Next, we discuss about some important computer system requirements. So here we have to talk about, so see here. So the data and services are secure whenever we have the confidentiality, whenever we have integrity, authenticity, availability, and accountability. Okay, these are the major factors. So when all these factors are there, then we can say that our data is secure. Our data is secure. That means we have provided the computer security. Computer security can be achieved by having the confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, availability, and accountability. Okay. Then we talk about three main things that we call it as security attack, security mechanism, and security service. So what is an attack? Attack means any action that compromises the security. Okay, any action that violates the security is called as an attack. Okay, any action that compromises the security of information owned by an organization. That is a technically we are saying. So what we can say, any action that violates the security is called as an security attack. Okay. Then coming to security mechanism means it is a process, it is a procedure in order to detect, prevent, or recover from the security attack. Okay. In order to detect whether there is any security attack is there, some procedure will be taken, and that we call it as a security mechanism. Okay. The security mechanism can be used to prevent, can be able to recover. If there is an attack is there, then it can be possible by using the mechanism we can able to recover. So that we call it as a security mechanism. Security service means this mechanism can be implemented by using the service. Clear? By using the service, this mechanism can be implemented. So security service means the service are intended to counter security attacks. Okay. The security mechanism provide the service. Okay. Service means the mechanism can be implemented by using the service. By using the service. Next, we go for attacks. First, we discuss about the security attacks. So, what we have said, attack means any action that violates the security. That violates the security is called as security attack. These attacks are of two types. One is called as a passive attack, and the one is called as a active attack. Passive attack and active attack. Okay. In passive attack, what happens? It make use of this attack, make use of information from the system, but does not affect the system resource. It is going to just see the data, say the data, or make use of the information that is being transmitted, but it does not affect the system resources. That we call it as passive attack. Whereas active attack means an attack attempts to alter the system resources or affect their operation. That we call it as active attack. Okay. So this security attacks is of two types. One is called as passive and the one is called as a active. Passive means which does not going to attack anything. That is called as passive. Active means which is going to harm the system. Harm the system. That we call it as an active. Under passive attacks, we have two types of attacks are there. One is called as release of message contents and the one is called as a traffic analysis. Whereas under active attacks, we have masquerade, then we have replaying, Then we have modification of messages, and there is one more attack called as denial of service. We discuss in detail what are these. So here, these are the active attacks. So in active attacks, we have the release of message contents, one type of attack. Another type of attack is traffic analysis. So release of message contents. What happens? Now Bob is a sender and Alice is a receiver. So obviously the Bob is sending the message to Alice. What happens? The third person, that is that he is going to read the contents, whatever the Bob is sending to Alice, but he is not going to change any data. He is going to just attempt to read the data, what the data is being transferred from Bob to Alice. Okay. So in this attack, what is not what we are going to lose? We are going to lose confidentiality. Okay. For security, three things are essential. One is confidentiality, and second one is integrity, and third one is availability. Here we are losing the confidentiality. Why? Because confidentiality means if the message is sent from Bob to Alice, the message has to be viewed only by Alice, not by anyone else. But what happens in this attack? The third person is going to view the message. He is going to read the contents of the message that is sent to Aries. Okay. And that message will not be altered. He is not going to perform anything. He is just going to view whatever the data that is passing from Bob to Alice. And that message can be used for any other purpose or something. But here the system is not get affected. That we call it as a release of message contents. Okay. And then another attack is traffic analysis. In traffic analysis, what is going to happen means the third person is going to analyze what are the traffic means flow of data. Traffic means flow of data. In this, the third person is going to analyze that is going to analyze what are the messages that are being transferred from Bob to Alice. Bob to Alice. He is not going to make any changes. He is just viewing. He is going to analyze the traffic. What are the data that is being transferred from Alice to how much data the Bob is transferring to Alice. That will be looked after by this third person. That is that. Okay, and this type of attack is called as a traffic analysis. Next, coming to this one, masquerade. Here, what happens? The Bob is sending the message to Alice. So actually, what has to be done? Bob should interact with Alice. These are the two authorized users. Bob is a sender and Alice is a receiver. But what happens in masquerade means this Dart is behaving like Bob. Okay, but that is not the authorized user, but he is behaving like authorized user like Bob. That we call it as a masquerade. Okay, behaving like something else, So what the alias understands, the messages are coming from Bob, but Bob is not sending the messages. Who is sending the messages? That is sending the messages on behalf of Bob. Okay, that type of attack is called as a masquerade. It is one of the most commonly type of attack that has been performing in internet. Okay, and another type of attack is replay. So here what happens, the message is sending from Bob to Alice. That message has been captured by the third person, that is that, and after some time he is going to replay the message. Okay, what Alice think that it is a new message that has come from Bob, but what actually it is a previous message which has been captured by that and it is replaying to the Alice. Okay, that is one type of attack, what we call it as a replay. Then we go for this attack that is called as a modification of messages. So what happens? The Bob has to send the message to Alice, but what happens is that is going to capture the message and he is going to modify the message and the message will be sent back to Alice. Okay, so modification will be done. Here we are losing the integrity concept. Okay, and then here denial of service means what happens? Denial of service means so this is a server. What is the main purpose of server? Server has to service the client. He has to give the responses to the client. Okay, authorized clients. But what the DART is going to do means he is going to send more number of requests so that the server cannot able to handle and it is going to slow down. That is the main purpose of this attack, that is called as denial of service. And then we talked about security services. So this security service means what? The mechanisms are implemented by using the services. So mechanism means the process which is used to the process what we said the process which is used to detect or prevent the security attack is called as a security mechanism, and this mechanism can be implemented by using the service. So we have the services have been divided into 5 categories. One we call it as authentication, and second one is called as access control. Third one is data confidentiality. Fourth one is data integrity, and fifth one is non-repudiation. These are the security services. One is authentication, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, and non-repudiation. Okay. Then coming to first one, that is authentication. So authentication means assurance that the communicating entity is who it claims to be. That means nothing but verifying the identity of the user. Verifying the identity is called as authentication. When we talk about authentication, we have to discuss about the peer entity authentication and data origin authentication. Peer entity authentication means it validates identities in logical connections. That means what? Actually, we have two types of connections are there. One is called as a physical connection. Second one is called as a logical connection. Physical connection means there is a direct connection between the devices. There is a physical connection between the two systems. That means the two devices are aware of the connection. That is called as physical connection. Whereas in logical connection, the connection is not physical. That means virtual connection is there. So the two devices are unaware of the connection. They are not having any physical connection between them. So that is called as a logical connection. So in this logical connection, what is requirement? Validity, identity verification is required. Okay, that we call it as a peer entity authentication. So whenever we are getting a message, we should authenticate that it has come from the aligned sender. So that is called as peer entity authentication. And another type of authentication is data origin authentication. That means we are authenticating the source of the data. We are authenticating the source of the data. Here we are authenticating the system. Here we are authenticating the data source from where the data is coming. The receiver is going to authenticate whether the data has come from the aligned sender or not. That is called as data origin authentication. Then coming to next service, that is access control. Access control is nothing but prevention of unauthorized resource use. So what it will do means it determines the authorized access, who is authorized and who is not authorized. That will be determined by the access control. And permissions, conditions, whatever the conditions, what are the permissions that are given to the authorized users, that will be done by the access control. Okay. In next type of service is data confidentiality. Data confidentiality nothing but protecting the data from unauthorized disclosure. That is called as a data confidentiality. When we talk about the data confidentiality, we have to talk about these 4 items. That is connection confidentiality, connectionless confidentiality, selective field confidentiality, and traffic flow confidentiality. So connection confidentiality means, so if in the connection, if there is a connection between the two systems, so the data can be transmitted. We already know that data can be transmitted through connection oriented or connectionless. So if the data is transmitting from one user to the another user, through the transmission media only the data transfers. So all the data has to be protected. Shields means covers all the user data on a connection. That is called as connection confidentiality. Connectionless means in a connectionless environment it is going to protect the data. Then selective field confidentiality means only chosen fields are protected. Okay, remaining data will be as it is. Only some fields are covered. That we call it as a selective field confidentiality. Then traffic flow confidentiality means there is an attack called as traffic analysis. So in traffic analysis, the attacker is going to analyze the traffic. In order to deviate that one, we are going to provide the traffic flow confidential. That means guard against traffic observation inference. Okay. So this is one type of security service that we call it as data confidentiality. Then we go for another type of service that is called as data integrity. So data integrity means whatever the data that is received should be unaltered. Okay, from its origin. From origin to destination, the data is traveling. We have to assure that data is unaltered. Throughout its transmission, the data is unaltered. Okay, in this data integrity, we talk about connection integrity with recovery, connection integrity without recovery, selective field connection integrity, connectionless integrity, and selective field connectionless integrity. So, if this service ensures integrity with recovery from tampering. So, it ensures the integrity. If there is any modification is there, that can be recovered. That is this type of service. So, connection integrity without recovery means it is going to detect whether there is integrity or not, but it is not having any recovery method. And in this type of service, it provides integrity of the selected fields. It ensures the integrity of selected fields. Whereas in this one, for connectionless environment, it is providing ensures the integrity, and this is also for the connectionless environment. And another type of service is non-repudiation. Non-repudiation means prevents the denial of communication participation. That means what? Now the sender has sent a message to receiver. Suppose A is sending a message to B. Okay. B has received the message. After that, B has denied that he has received the message from A. In that situation, B must be able to prove that he has received the message from A. That we call it as non-repudiation. Is it clear? Now, there are two parties. A is a sender, B is a receiver. A has sent a message to B. B has received the message. After that, B denied that he has received the message. Then A must be proved that he has sent the message to B. So that we call it as a non-repudiation. So non-repudiation can be done uh, at the origin, at the destination. So if the non-repudiation this service is provided at the origin, then this is the service. If it is provided at the destination, then it is the service. So what this service is going to do mean, this is going to provide the proof of message sender, and this service is going to provide proof of message receiver. So this about the security services. Then finally, we go for the security mechanisms. Security mechanism means a process which is used to detect, prevent, or recover the security attack. Okay. So here the mechanisms are categorized into two types. One is called as specific security and second one is called pervasive security. That means non-specific security mechanisms. Okay. Specific security mechanism means what? These mechanisms are implemented in a specific protocol layer. In a specific protocol layer, these mechanisms are being implemented. Whereas, if there are no specific protocol layer, it can be implemented in any layer. That we call it as a pervasive security mechanisms, or we can simply call it as non-specific security mechanisms. First, we talk about specific security mechanisms. The first mechanism that comes under the specific security mechanism is encipherment. That means simple. What we have encipherment means use of mathematical algorithms to transform the data into unintelligible form. That is, that is the main way of protecting the data, the main mechanism of protecting the data, the main mechanism of preventing the unauthorized view is called as encipherment. That is what we are going to make use of mathematical algorithms to transform the data into unintelligible form. So, what is the main purpose of this mechanism? It is used to protect the data confidential, assuring the data confidentiality. For this purpose, we are going to use the algorithm, that is an encryption algorithm, and we are going to use the encryption keys. And the example of this encipherment mechanism is AES encryption, or we can call it as a DES. Anything is symmetric encryption algorithms. Then another type of mechanism is the digital signature. So this digital signature is mainly used for providing authentication and data integrity. Both authentication and data integrity can be achieved by using this mechanism. In this mechanism, what happens? Data will be appended to the transformed unit in order to prove the source and integrity. So the data will be appended, and the data will be some data. Some data means the data that is retrieved from the message will be appended. That we call it as a digital signature. So, what are the components used? Here we are going to use the cryptographic transformation and digital signature verification of the components. An example for this is RSA digital signature. So these are the mechanisms. So security, specific security mechanisms. Why, for what purpose we are calling this as a security, specific security mechanisms means these mechanisms are implemented in a specific protocol layer. That is, in the this encipherment can be implemented in the transport layer, and digital signature can be implemented in the application layer. So these services are called as specific security mechanisms. And coming to next one, access control. This is one of the mechanism. So this access control is going to ensure the access rights to resources. So there are resources are there. So that resources can be used by whom? That can be enforced by using this mechanism. And the purpose of this mechanism is to restrict the unauthorized users. So the resources cannot be used by unauthorized users. So for that purpose, this access control mechanism has been used. And what are the components we are using in this mechanism is authentication, authorization, and audit. By using these only, we can have this mechanism. An example for this access control mechanism is role-based access control. This is one of the mechanisms that are going to be implemented. And next type of mechanism is data integrity. So this mechanism ensures the integrity of data units. So integrity can be achieved by using this mechanism. Okay, what is the main purpose of this mechanism? Prevention of unauthorized modification. Integrity means ensuring integrity means there should be no modification. So this mechanism is going to prevent the unauthorized modification. And what are the components used for this mechanism is hash function, checksums, and digital signatures. An example for this mechanism is SHA-256 hash algorithm. So with these mechanisms are called as specific security mechanisms. Why? Because they are going to implement in a specific protocol layers. And there are two more are there. One is called as the authentication exchange and traffic padding. This authentication exchange is a mechanism which is going to verify entity identity through information exchange. Through the exchange of information, it is going to identify the entity of the it is going to verify the identity of the user. What is the main purpose? In order to establish the trust between the communicating parties. And what are the components we are going to use here is challenge response protocols and certificates. And one of the most common example is TLS handshake protocol. So another type of mechanism is traffic padding. So traffic padding means insertion of bits in data stream gaps to foil the traffic analysis. In order to deviate the traffic analysis, we are going to fill the gap with the unused bits. Okay, that is called as traffic padding mechanism. The main purpose is concealment of communication patterns. And what are the components we are going to use? We are going to use a random or dummy data insertion. An example for this is adding random padding to encrypted messages. And next one is these are also specific security mechanism. Routing control routing control, and next one is notarization. Routing control means selection of secure routes for data transmission. Okay, and what is the purpose is mitigating security branches or optimizing data flow. For example, in some route there is a security related problem is there, then it is going to select another route. That is called as a routing control mechanism. And what are the components we are going to use is dynamic routing protocols, and that is algorithms and secure routing protocols. Example, BGP is one of the example of this routing control mechanism. And next one is notarization. Notarization means use of trusted third parties to verify the data exchange properties. And what is the main purpose? It has to provide assurance of data authenticity and integrity. That is called as, that is a main mechanism done in the notarization. And coming to this pervasive security mechanism, that is non-specific security mechanisms. Why these are called as non-specific security mechanisms means these mechanisms can be implemented anywhere. It is not specific to any particular protocol layer. So one of this is trusted functionality. This is one of the mechanism. So components perceived as correct as security policy, that we call it as a trusted functionality. And what is the main purpose here? It ensures the reliability and trustworthiness. Okay, and what are the components? Secure boot processes and secure hardware modules. An example is secure enclave in Apple devices. And another type of mechanism is security label. Security label is marking indicating security attributes of a resource. And what is the security label? This is also one of the non-specific security mechanism. So mechanism means it is a process to detect, prevent, or recover the security attack. So what is the main purpose? Enforcing access control and data handling policies. And what the components we are going to use? Classification levels, sensitivity labels. And example is a Department of Defense security classifications. And event detection and security audit trail. These are the pervasive security mechanisms. Event detection means identification of security relevant events. The main purpose is earlier detection of potential security incidents. So if there are any security incidents are going to happen, then we are going to have early detection by using this event detection mechanism. And what are the components for this? And for detecting, we require the log monitoring and anomaly detection. And example is this one, systems analyzing traffic logs. And next one is security audit trail. Collection of data for the security audit purpose. What is the main purpose? Means providing evidence of security activities for review, and components are log files and audit records. So these are the security, non-specific security mechanisms. These are the security mechanisms. Okay. So, and this is a reference that we have used in order to prepare these slides. And hope you understand. If you have any feedback or queries, you may call, you may give your queries to this address. Thank you.